Hey everybody, Happy New Year. I wish I could do one of those live video things. I don't really know how to do it, and I don't know if anyone would watch it anyway. I'd probably be pretending to go live to one other person, but Happy New Year. I'm going to kind of pretend this is live, greeting the new year with me. But it's also really about that Trump guitar, sort of. We're still talking about the Trump guitar. I posted that review of the Trump guitar, which I bought. I got it just a couple days ago. And the comments were just vitriolic, or at least a lot of them were, which I don't really like on my channel. I hope I didn't say anything to offend anybody. I don't think I did. But a lot of people just seemed offended that it was reviewed at all, that you said anything other than, if you said anything about the guitar other than that it was a rip job and a scam and a grift, then you didn't know what you were talking about. And I had all kinds of people, aside from just being offended by the source of the guitar and the name associated with it in general, were just assuring me that it was like $100 guitar that I paid a lot of money for. And I kind of wanted to say a little bit about that, because when you go to valuation on a guitar like that, like the Trump guitar, let's look at it right here. So this is the Trump guitar. It's $1,200. It's not $1,500 like the Les Paul, Trump Les Paul. I guess we're not supposed to call it a Les Paul, are we? The Chibson. It's funny how that Chibson used to be considered a sort of an offensive, almost like a racial slur type term, and once it was a way to associate something with Donald Trump, man, everybody, this is a Chibson. I heard the word more in the last 2 weeks than in the last 5 years. But anyway, there's the guitar. It was $1,200. I wanted to say a little bit about that, because quite a few people said that was like a $100 guitar, just would never play. Let me say a little bit about this. Now, this is a harmony guitar. Look at the strings on that thing. This is just like the guitar I learned on. This was a $100 guitar in 1972, and I had one just like it. I played it all through high school. I wouldn't be a guitar player at all without a guitar just like this. I mean, from 6th grade to 12th grade, this was my guitar, or one just like it. I don't even think a lot of younger people can relate to playing something that made your fingers bleed. It's got screen door wires for strings. Look how far off the neck. But you know what? You can play down here. And I bought this off eBay, but look, you won't ever get that thing in tune. Now, that's a cheap guitar, but you know what? I learned on it. And you know what? I wouldn't be sitting here with any kind of credential as a guitarist, to the extent I'm a guitarist, without a piece of junk like this. And I have a lot of affection for it, actually. So if it's a less expensive guitar, that doesn't mean necessarily anything. You know, I sometimes look at a lot of people today that their first lessons are shredding up on the 19th fret. And I think, you know what they need? They need their first lessons to be on some old hog like this, where they learn G chords and C chords and D chords, and learn to play songs. But that's a cheap guitar. The other guitar that came up that was compared a lot to the Trump acoustic guitar, that I happen to know a little bit about, unlike I bet a lot of the people using it as a reference, was the Esteban guitar. So a lot of people said the Trump guitar, let's see here, I got so many guitars around me, that this Trump guitar was like the Esteban, because it was kind of like a, now that's sort of an interesting comparison, and I bet 90% of the people saying that have never played an Esteban. But if you look through this channel, you will see that I actually reviewed an Esteban guitar on this channel about 2 years ago. And the Esteban was a $100 guitar. that I bought for 160. So it's actually worth more now than it was new when you could buy it late at night on TV. But the Esteban also, even though it was sold around the year 2000, this guitar was sold around the year 1970. The Esteban was around 2000. But the Esteban also had that old super high action when you got up around the 12th fret, which I don't even think a newer guitar has. And I think that was because the Esteban still didn't use computer numerical cutting. It would, however they used to make fingerboards and necks 50 years ago, was still how that Esteban was made. Because that was the thing about the Esteban. The Esteban didn't play that much better than this one. It was better. I mean, the Esteban was definitely better than this, but not way better. I mean, this thing, it wasn't like way better than this. And you know what? You could play on either of them. I'd give either one to a 4th or 5th grader. Actually, you'd probably want to get them something better. Nowadays, you don't need to play guitar that's so hard to tune and everything, but still, I mean, if you gave a 4th or 5th grader an Esteban or one like this, well, it'd be something they could learn on, wouldn't it? But those guitars are so much, I mean, to compare that Esteban to this Trump guitar is just stupid. I played that Esteban. I mean, if anything, the action was a little low, but the action's nice and even. I just took it out here. I believe it does drift a little bit with intonation. Still, to compare that Esteban to this is just ridiculous. It's just not even close. I mean, one thing I will say about that Esteban that is kind of like this is it looked like if they cut corners, they kind of cut corners maybe with the tuners, things like that. That looks, to me, kind of like a cheap, you might think it's not that important part of a guitar, but looks kind of like a cheap, I don't know. But you know what? One thing about that Esteban and about this is that Esteban was actually a pretty beautiful guitar. It's kind of like this. I think part of what you were getting with the Esteban was actually quite a beautiful guitar. I mean, to give that to a kid, I mean, it had a nice finish on it, nice woods. At least a solid top, I think. But there's no way that Esteban was even close to this. So whoever was on there saying this is like an Esteban is just doesn't know a thing about what they're talking about. A couple other guitars I might mention along those lines. Now this is another guitar that I bought because it's kind of got the wow factor. This is a Woodstock commemorative guitar. This is HPL, which is, that's kind of like Formica. So it's not meant to be a fancy guitar. You know what? It's you're kind of paying for the Woodstock. You know, you've got the little Woodstock birdie up there. You know, the famous poster. And you know what? This guitar is a hoss to play. It's a good strummer, but it's a hoss to play. So the Trump guitar is better than this guitar, which is about a $500 or $600 guitar. Not close. Trump guitar better than this. Now, one thing about this is, I think the tuners, they feel a little tighter. I don't know. They feel a little more substantial. So maybe in 5 years, this thing will still be built like a tank. And maybe in 5 years, if I play that Trump guitar and don't just put it in a box, maybe the Trump guitar will start to get all loose and rattly, which sometimes less expensive guitars will start to get loose and rattly if you actually play them. I'm a big man, so when I really dig in and play guitar for a while, it breaks it in pretty good. So, but the Trump guitar is definitely more enjoyable to play than this. And that's a $600 guitar. So now we get up here a little bit. This is my Taylor AD22E. And this is a better guitar, I would say, than the Trump guitar. But it's not obviously better. It's out of tune. I should have tuned all these. But anyway, the Trump guitar, I don't know if it's as good as this one. And this is about an $1,800 guitar, but I only paid $1,000 for this. So I actually paid less for this than I did the Trump guitar because I bought it last year. They were practically giving it away. Taylor had one of those Thanksgiving Christmas sales. I traded in a couple things. I didn't pay hardly anything for this. And it's all solid wood, and it's a better guitar. Plus, it's got the expression system too. See that Trump guitar does not have any electronics in it. So, but I bought this to play out. I mean, it's kind of like that Woodstock guitar. You know, that Woodstock guitar, it's a hoss to play, but you know what? Every time I've ever played it, and I play it a fair amount, it's kind of a backup guitar for the Taylor 8022E, and also it's kind of a backup guitar for the Taylor 8022E. And then also, but sometimes I just play it, you know, and every time I've ever played this thing, I get all kinds of compliments. It's a hoss to play. You can't really flat pick on it. God forbid you try to finger pick on it. I mean, really, anything other than the like a dust in the wind type, you know, but any kind of really nice finger picking, forget it. And so the Trump guitar is better than this in terms of playability. And I don't think it sounds worse than this. I think the Trump guitar had a little bit of a thin sound. It might have pretty, you know what, the action is pretty light. It might have kind of light strings on it. It might have been, you know, some guitars ship with kind of high action and thicker strings. I think Martins and Taylors both are known to ship with pretty thick strings and high action, which sound great, but they can be a bear to play. The Trump guitar might have shipped with lighter strings and lower action with the setup. I do not know. But, yeah, that Trump guitar, you know, I would, it plays about like this. I have a feeling in 5 years, with a lot of playing, this will be a better guitar than that Trump guitar. But anyone who thinks that Trump guitar was just a $100 tin can with strings on it, you know, I've got two Martins in here. I didn't get them out, but I've got a Martin HD28 and I've got a Martin EOOO EC28 Eric Clapton guitar. Those are both better. But you know what? Those are just both better guitars. Obviously, I don't think anyone in the universe has ever tried to say that Trump guitar is as good as like a Martin D28 or, you know, a Martin EOOO guitar. Did anyone say that? I certainly didn't. You know, another guitar that Trump guitar is better than that I have on this channel. These are all guitars I've played. I'm not just looking at a picture of a bridge and going, oh, that's the wrong kind of nut. It's a $100 guitar. I'm talking about what I like to play. That makes me an expert. You know, what I like to play. I spend my money on my guitars and what I like to play. And I like this Trump guitar better than the Taylor 214 that I play on this channel for a couple videos, which was an absolute hoss to play. Maybe it was a setup on the one I picked up, but it was an absolute hoss to play. This is way better in terms of just enjoying to play. I also played the Yamaha CFG-TA, which is the Yamaha Transacoustic parlor guitar. That's about an $800 or $900 guitar. This is a better guitar than that to me. I mean, I would rather play this. Like I said, it's possible in 5 years this thing will fall apart. But I don't know that. I do not know that. But I'm just telling you, when I said it wasn't a rip job, I've reviewed a lot of guitars on this channel. Maybe some of you were just kind of flipping on the channel. But if you just looked at a picture of this and said it's a $100 guitar, you're the one who doesn't know what you're talking about, not me. Because I played all these guitars, and I'm just telling you which one I would prefer to pick up and play than a lot of those I just named is this one. In terms of just sitting down and enjoying playing. It drifts a little bit in the tuning. But I've always liked guitars with design. You know, there was a David Crosby Hippie Martin I wanted to buy. That was pretty expensive. They had, you know, several of those Martin Cowboy guitars. Those are nice to have. And this is a nice guitar. You know? Those make me think, those seem a little inexpensive to me. Makes me think that looks kind of like a sort of inexpensive part. And there's no electronics on it. But I'm telling you, one thing you're getting is a nice box. Nice woods, a nice box, and a nice finish. I mean, that is something. It's like that Esteban. That is something. I mean, and I happen to think it plays all right. So please don't hate on me too much. Boy, I had some mean comments there, and you know what? I tempted to jump in sometimes. Hey, Detroit. But yeah, if you think this is a $100 guitar or a $300, I saw that somebody was comparing the Les Paul one to a $350 Harley Benton. Maybe I don't know that Harley Benton. I can tell you this: for $500, you can get a pretty nice guitar these days. I mean, really. So that's not necessarily inaccurate to say, you know, there's some nice Harley Benton that was $300 that's as nice as that Gibbs Trump Les Paul. I mean, that might be true. I do not know. Because, you know, the fact is, you can't even get, I've got all these guitars here. You can't even buy a hog like that today. And I remember my first electric guitar. I could play like Black Sabbath Paranoid. That was one of the first songs. That was like, but you could play those power chords. You tried to play anything with any kind of finesse, you couldn't tune that thing. It was like an old, I forget what it was, but it was like a old, like a SG knockoff. But you can't even get a cheap guitar like that. But anybody who thinks that thing is like a $100 guitar, that's just so wrong. It's ridiculous. I mean, it might be overpriced. That's definitely possible. You know, something else, people buy those maybe to support the person. That's not so bad. How many people have ever spent $1,000 on a PBS public broadcasting station tote bag or jacket or something? You know, you're paying kind of to support the person, the idea or whatever. I'm not saying that's what this is, and I'm not saying that's why I bought it. Although, if I did buy it because I liked the idea of it, that's certainly, I'm allowed to do that, right? But anyway, I just kind of wanted to say that. And I am going to have a shootout with some of these other nice guitars. The one in particular, I thought I mentioned though, is this Woodstock guitar, because I think it's instructive. It's a hoss to play. I mean, it's a bear. I'd hate to finger pick on it. But, you know, to strum on it, it sounds great. I think it might have a better kind of thumpy, strummy, kind of, thump your foot type of strum, than the Trump guitar. This is not a bad guitar, but it's a bear to play. But you know what? It's $600, and every time I play this, I get all kinds of compliments on it. And it sounds good. And it's got electronics. It sounds good through the PA. And if I'm playing with my friend Ken, or I play with the Surly Trolls, or I was with the band called the Surly Trolls till last fall, I'll play with this, and it sounds good as a kind of rhythm instrument, and you can play some kind of leads on it. It slows you down for sure, and it really makes you work. So if you're trying to be flash trash, Billy Strings or something on this, it's pretty tough. But just to play it as an ensemble piece, or as a singer-songwriter, it gives you a nice big full strum. But every time, this is a 600, I think you can get these for $5. But every time I've ever played it, I get all kinds of compliments. Woodstock, people love Woodstock. So maybe the Trump guitar is kind of like that. So I just wish everybody would kind of lighten up, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Shall we? Well, I don't know what time it is. I think it's right around midnight. And I actually haven't had a beer in a long time. You guys drove me to it. But, yeah, the guitars now are so good. But, yeah, everyone it just seemed like, it's kind of like the Emperor's New Clothes, too. And everybody says it's a $100 guitar. You read, 96 different comments saying it's a cheap guitar, it's a scam, it's a grift, and all these people that sound like they know what they're talking about. And maybe in some ways they do, well, the nut is this or the, but I know what I'm talking about because I've played all these guitars and I'm kind of ranking them. That Trump guitar I would rather play than a lot of the guitars I just named. And those two Martins I have, the really nice ones that I don't have out right now, they don't have electronics. So I used that Martin in church on Christmas Eve, and it sounded beautiful. I was just playing through a mic, so it sounded beautiful. It sounded really beautiful. But, that's not necessarily the guitar you want to take out to a bar and, play Brown Eyed Girl with, or, a bunch of old Neil Diamond songs either while people are dancing and having a good time, which is something I've sometimes in like a duos, that's what we end up doing is like, a lot of old, Ricky Nelson songs and, all kinds of things like Ken and Dave or the Silverbird duo. But the Martin isn't necessarily the guitar you want for a lot of those. Although it's good, you have to mic it up or get a sound hole pickup or something set up, which was not that hard. But a lot of good guitars out there. But it was kind of like the Emperor's New Clothes. You're afraid to be the one that goes, well, it's really not that bad. I mean, okay, maybe it's not a Collins or one of the like Doc Watson Gallagher or some mythic the Jimmy Page's Martin D42 from Going to California, or was that a D28? But maybe it's not, but You feel like it's kind of like the Emperor's New Clothes. You're like that little kid. Am I the only one that feels like, what? Hey, it's not really that bad a guitar. I mean, and like I said, I'm the world's foremost authority on what I like. You can't tell me what I like, and I do play a lot of guitar. And I would rank that Trump guitar in my little arsenal of acoustic guitars higher than many that I have played. But I wish you all the best. I'm certainly not hoping to get political on this channel. That is not my goal. We'll sing, maybe do a little Trump concert later tonight, or a little acoustic guitar concert later tonight. But, yeah, just... Yeah, $100 guitar or even a $300 guitar. I'm just telling you, I don't know about pricing. I'm sure you can get 300 nice acoustic guitars that are another guitar I used to play is a Yamaha FG-375. That was I traded that in. I don't even remember what they couldn't have given me that much, but I did trade it in to get my Martin HD28 in 2004. That HD28, that was a great guitar, and I still have that, and it's a 20-year-old guitar now, but it's a super duper nice guitar. But that was another one, Yamaha FG-375. That was a really nice guitar. And I'm thinking I think I got that in the 80s or maybe early 90s, maybe the 80s. And I think it was about a $300 guitar at the time. So you can get a good guitar for $300. So if somebody says that's worth $300, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a piece of junk. I mean, right? And by the way, here's another thing about that Trump guitar. I don't know where it's made. Yeah, it's too bad if it wasn't made in America. And I'm from Detroit, so I've always been, thank God for RCA, Harley Davidson, and Chevrolet. They ain't perfect, but they still say made in the USA. I believe that. God bless American manufacturing. So, that's another thing about this guitar. This guitar, this piece of junk that you couldn't even play. The one I had, it was all worn. You could see the grooves in it. It was just all slotted. Just grooves from me playing all those years. That's what I learned on this thing. And then when I got an Alvarez Cutaway, I don't even remember that, but in my senior year of high school, then that kind of replaced this one. And that Alvarez Cutaway was like a $200 guitar, and that would have been like 78, 79, and it just blew this thing away. So I never looked back. And I'm sure that Alvarez Cutaway wasn't all that expensive guitar, but it just seems so nice compared to this. But one thing about this, if you look in there, steel reinforced neck. You know what it says right there, baby? Made in the USA. That's Harmony guitar. That's a cheap guitar, like an Esteban or a K. K's another company that made cheap guitars that kids would learn on. Those were made in the United States of America. And by the way, Harmony's still around, and they sell nitro electric guitars. They're not all that expensive, and all their guitars are nitro, which I'm surprised more people don't talk about Harmonies. I don't know if they're any good, but anyway, I kind of wanted to say that. It must be New Year's because I'm hearing fireworks go off. Happy New Year. Trying to think if I have any predictions for the new year. One thing I thought about predictions, we had a bunch of deaths in the last 10 years, and it's always, it kind of reminds me of a theory I've always had about death and aging, maybe because I'm getting along those lines myself. A lot of people die in their I've even heard like doctors and a lot of people, men, I've sometimes heard it said men, but a lot of people die in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And if you don't, you get cancer, heart attack, or lifestyle types issues, or something will take you out. Medicine now is better, so that's maybe less true. But still, a lot of men that die in their 50s and 60s, and then they say if you make it through your mid 70s, a lot of times you might live. That means you're in probably pretty good health, and you'll probably live to be 90. So, seemed like I don't know if we had as many deaths as but the last few years, just think about, in recent, like the last 10 years, Joe Cocker, David Bowie, Dr. John, just the list of great people, Jeff Beck. Oh, we lost so many, and it didn't seem like we lost quite as many this year. And I was thinking maybe a lot of the classic rock generation, a lot of the 60s and 70-year-olds, kind of died that were not in great health, that have had like Greg Allman, people like that, nothing, and R.I.P. to all those great people. But who knows? Paul McCartney, some of these guys, they might live to be 99, like the Queen or something, Keith Richards, maybe the jokes are true. He'll be alive longer than any of the rest of us, but which is kind of funny if you think about it. He just quit smoking a year or two ago, I think, didn't he, Keith Richards? But, well, I hope everybody has a good, happy Thanksgiving. Been kind of a rough few years, at least for some. I'm sort of thankful for this channel, really. It's been a outlet, I don't consider, I'm not I'm a college professor, actually. Some of you might know that I'm a college professor, but I've always played music, and I consider myself a professional musician of sorts. I mean, I've played professionally since I was in high school. Like, if you think, playing in restaurants and duos and things. I've been in some bands, but mostly things like duos. But I've been in some pretty good duos and also like bluegrass groups and things. And I've also played for church on the piano. So I guess I sort of consider myself a professional musician. And I certainly do like to perform, but I'm a college professor by my, so-called day job, which I also love. A lot of stress sometimes with that job. And education has changed so much in the time I've taught. Like, we could talk about that another time if you're interested, but education has really changed. I'm not sure it's always changed for the better, frankly, but it's definitely changed. And but this channel has been a kind of a nice outlet, and that was the funny thing about that Trump guitar, man. It got like 2,000 views, like 12 hours, which for my channel is a lot. Maybe that's like MSNBC. So you gotta use the word Trump. It makes your ratings go through the roof. Maybe that's the secret. We just Trump guitars. What else can we do? Let's talk about. Does anybody else have something like that? But. Yeah, his name generates clicks. I'll tell you that. But man, some of the, if you want me to tell you a little bit what I think, some of these people are so doggone mean. They'll make you vote Republican if you weren't going to. When I was a kid, a lot of the cool people I thought were Democrats. Like, I was raised in a Christian environment, but it was kind of suburban 70s, and I certainly went to high school with a lot of, it was kind of a Brady Bunch situation, but a lot of kids had long hair. It was the heyday of, the greatest music ever, classic rock concerts, You go to a rock concert now, it's not like the ones that I went to in high school. I can't, I sometimes think, man, if my kid went to a concert like the ones I went to, when I was like 15, 16, I went to see Bob Seger in 1976. I don't even know if I should say this, at the Pontiac Silverdome. It was maybe one of the great experiences of my life. I mean, I was just a kid, but it was just such a great concert. And, Bob Seger was at the height of his rise. Not even really famous outside of Detroit, but man, he was huge in Detroit. And I saw him and Todd Rundgren and Elvin Bishop. And point blank at the Pontiac Silverdome. But man, I was like 14, 15, maybe. I'd have to even calculate. But man, that place was it was still like Woodstock. I mean, I as soon as I walked in, and I was like a naive, kid, kind of went to Sunday school. I just was like Bob Seger, and I walked in there, and it was just like, boy, oh boy. I mean, it was just like anarchy. You said. There were some girls running around without tops on, and the place was just a contact intoxication, as just being in there, and all kinds of smoke. A lot of the people. That was really like a hardcore days of rock and roll. Like a lot of guys would like kind of look like they were biker type guys you'd see in there. And when I used to play in Detroit. Sometimes there was still a lot of biker type guys that would come and hear us play. And, I learned a little bit about that side of life from playing in those years. But, man, I look at the way concerts used to be and then how they are now. I saw Ringo Starr. This was the last concert I saw. It was great, by the way. probably musically a lot better than having, if you saw Ringo Starr in 1976 or something when everything was all chaotic. But maybe, I don't know, but I'd rather see him in 76. But I mean, it was great musically, just super duper good band. But man, I think if you tried anything like that, what they used to see, you see it like 1976, and you'd have security on you so fast. I mean, I just saw so much crazy stuff in that, and that particularly that Silverdome concert. I remember, and it wasn't just smoking; it was other, harder things, and that was exposure to things. And I thought sometimes, my kids ever saw something like that at that age? No way, but it's funny, but things have changed a lot in those years. But the other thing is we lost Jimmy Carter. That was a sad loss, wasn't it? You know what I remember, Jimmy Carter? There was a Jimmy Carter peanut bong that a kid in my high school had. I never partook, or if I did, I wouldn't admit it. But he had a Jimmy Carter peanut bong. So that's a Trump guitar. There used to be a Jimmy Carter peanut bong, Jimmy Carter, all kinds of things. And he was a big proponent of NORML, if you know what that was, which I am too. I think that's good. But Jimmy Carter peanut bong. But he was a great man, and Christian man. I'm a Christian. I'm not a. It's funny. All these people that hate Trump, they make me so mad. And who else makes me mad? Sometimes Christians. I just when I was a kid, I would be around a lot of evangelical Christians, and the women were all so kind of bougie and judgmental, and that used to make me so mad. And I feel like that now with the Democrats. The women are all kind of bougie and judgmental, ready to point their fingers at everybody. So I guess none of us are perfect, but maybe one of these days I'll do a Trump guitar concert, play some of my offensive songs. I have a bunch of offensive songs that I'll play. I want to get them out there before I die, which hopefully won't be for a lot of years. You never know, do you? But I have a bunch of political songs. A few of them are on my original song playlist, but I have a few more. But one of them is about the places I yearn to go in the world. And like I've always wanted to see Mount Bong in Africa, scenic Mount Bong, or Foukayoua in Japan. Go to the University of Foukayoua, old FU. But I think the greatest place to go would definitely be Phuket, Thailand. And Phuket in Thailand, that would be a great place to go. The vistas of Phuket, Thailand are really beyond compare. The mystery and the magic and the charm of old Phuket town in Phuket, Thailand, on Phuket Island. I really want to go there to Phuket. I don't know if I'll ever make it at this point in my life to go to Phuket or Foukayoua in Japan. There's also Fukushima. I really prayed for Fukushima when they had that nuclear reactor meltdown. The nuclear reactor at Fukushima, that was terrible. And then other places in China, Guangdong. I'd love to go to Guangdong, but I've never been. In all candor, I've never been to Guangdong, China. Lake Titicaca, Bangkok, But I think the one place that rises above all in terms of travel desirability would be Phuket. That would just be a great destination, travel destination, kind of a bucket list place to go to Phuket. fuck it island, fuck it town. Just stroll the streets of old fuck it. You know, the charms of old fuck it. Yeah, I'd love to go to fuck it. And fuck you. That's right. I said it. And you know what? If you hate America, fuck you. I know all those people that hate that Trump guitar, they don't hate America. Because if they hated America, that's what I would say is, fuck you. You hate America. But you know, there are a lot of people that hate America, aren't there? You know. They don't say I hate America. Some of them even say it, but anyway, I think I'm gonna chill out. But that Trump guitar, if you think that's a $100 guitar, like I said, I just rattled off a bunch of guitars that I don't enjoy playing, that were in the $800 or $900 range that I've reviewed on this channel, that I like this better than. And I'm just talking about what I like. And another thing is, maybe in 10 years, this guitar, if you play it a lot, will fall apart. You know, guitars. You know what? That's one thing I think about a lot of cheaper guitars. Is they'll play a lot of times. I don't know. They'll play fine, but they might start to fall apart if you play them a lot. That's one thing about like a nice Martin HC-28. I played the hell out of that Martin HC-28. I need to play it more, but I mean, like when I was in the Silverbird Duo, I played that a lot, like every weekend, twice a weekend, you know, 4, 5, 6 hours a night sometimes, and you know, but pretty heavy usage. Things built great, you know. Now I don't know if that Trump guitar would put up with that kind of I won't say abuse, but just, cause I don't abuse my guitars, but you play them. Playing a guitar is kind of abusing it if you think about it. So it's very possible that with time, if you actually play that guitar, it'll start to fall apart, and so maybe you don't want to play it. But in terms of pulling it out of the box right now and playing it, I also don't think it tunes up great. It tunes up fine, but I noticed it's you have to. I'm telling you, anyone who thinks this is a $100 guitar, you got to be kidding me. Those are just people that are. It's just really, 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 really important to them that everybody says it's a scam. You can't have anybody out there that says, you know, well, maybe it's not that bad, you know, maybe. But you look at this channel, I've reviewed a bunch of guitars, and I'm just telling you that is my professional opinion, and it is professional in the sense that I know what I like, that it's definitely a guitar I would personally prefer to play over many of the guitars I have played and reviewed on this channel. Thanks. God bless. Good night. Happy New Year.